I'm Alex Berman, and you're watching Selling Breakdowns. Let's kick off with a nice depressing statistic. Your average American will throw away 77 pounds of clothing every single year. And that's true across the majority of the Western world. That's 2 suitcases of clothing just dumped. Today we're going to look at the history of Zara, its parent company Inditex, and the fashion industry in general to see how it became possible to create such a high churn rate in the fashion industry. Zara's first store opened in 1975 in a city called A Coruña in northern Spain. Owners Mancino Ortega and Rosalia Mira had wanted to name it after a favorite Greek film called Zorba the Greek, but a bar on their street had already beat them to the punch, so they settled for Zara since they'd already had the letters to make the sign. Inditex was set up in 1985 as a holding company for Zara and the manufacturing plants. They went on to set up and take over many other high street brands that follow Zara's format, such as Pull & Bear, Bershka, and Stradivarius. And they now have over 6,000 stores globally. Zara's early business model was to create similar copies to high-end lines, but at an affordable price. As they expanded through Spain, Ortega pushed the idea of instant fashion, where Zara could react incredibly quickly to new trends so they could put new lines on the shelves in a fraction of the normal time. Historically, fashion had moved at a glacial pace, with trends taking years to come in and out of popularity. Before TV and photography, a new style might come from the fashion houses of Paris, and it would spread when visitors to the city bought the clothes and then wore them in other cities. Or perhaps an apprentice would spend a few years learning the trade and then return to their home country, bringing new ideas with them. Even in the 20th century, there was a time delay. Industry events like textile conventions in Paris would be only for those in the business, so they would see what new materials and color patterns were emerging. Then this influenced the design for the catwalk shows the next year. The public would get glimpses of the fashion weeks in the press, and this would lead to the styles that made it to commercial stores later in the year. So it was a 2 or 3 year process, but this has changed completely now. Thanks to Instagram, Snapchat, live streaming, and so on, the public see a lot of their pieces before they even reach the catwalk. This is why Zara's business model is so successful. They're able to put out a new collection that reflects what's being shown at the major fashion weeks almost as it's happening. And Zara is incredibly fast. It's said that they can take an idea from paper sketch to the shelves in just 4 weeks. For most other brands, we're talking 6 months on average. So how have they become so efficient? In 1990, they upgraded their factory to adopt the famous Toyota production system called just-in-time. We'll look into this in more detail in another video about Toyota, but the basic idea is rather than making a product, storing it, taking it out of storage, and then delivering it, you skip the storage altogether, carefully organizing your production so everything is picked up fresh off the production line and delivered straight to stores. It's a bit of an oversimplification, but you get the idea. So what's the benefit of the speed to Zara? Is it to make them right on the cutting edge of trends? It's a factor, but there's another motivation, and it's really the key behind their success. Zara have created urgency in their customers. If you go into a luxury brand store, you can find a piece you like, think about it for a month, and then go back and get it. In Zara, some lines are only in the store for a month total. That coat you look so good in might be gone forever in the morning. And it's exciting for shoppers. They know there's plenty of new treasures to discover every time they come through the doors. Your average Spanish high street store expects loyal customers to shop there about 3 times a year. At Zara, it's 17 times. Store managers get a good amount of autonomy over their space, so each store doesn't feel like a carbon copy of the other. In fact, there's a lot working in the store manager's favor. They don't need to discount old stock to free space because they barely have any stock. A new line is delivered every couple weeks. Also, Zara doesn't advertise, so individual stores don't need to stick to a campaign. The brand relies on word of mouth, including that generated by its celebrity fans, such as Kate Middleton. Zara's marketing is very subtle, and that's a part of the business model. They benefit from the mountains of free press that the fashion industry generates, and with their hyper-fast logistics, they're often first to spot a trend and provide it to the general public. Want to learn more about business theory and history? Be sure to like and subscribe to be notified of our next segment.